Essen Spiel 2024 broke all kinds of records. Thursday, Friday and Saturday sold out for the first time ever, and the messe halls were jam-packed with board game lovers from all around the world there to try and buy board games, and oh my, did they buy board games. City, the #1 hot game on Board Game Geek, sold 3,000 copies. Dark in Cover sold at least 1,000, probably a lot more copies at the fair, and they sold out. You had Solfjord, Alte, Castle Combo selling out day one. A lot of games doing quite well. A lot of games that received a lot of attention before the convention. But when I was at the convention, I discovered some hidden gems. Games that I hadn't wandered upon in my very comprehensive research. I watched at least 50 different videos, read through a lot of lists on Board Game Geek and other forums, and these games weren't mentioned by anyone. And some of them weren't even on the Essen Spiel preview list on Board Game Geek. So I thought I might take this opportunity to just walk you through the games, my finds, and maybe they will inspire you. First up, we have Wanderlust Discover the World by Pectis Studio. This is one that I didn't try because it wasn't on the preview list, and I only saw it during my very last hour at the fair, so I unfortunately didn't have time to play it. But it looks gorgeous. I actually saw it in prototype form a couple of years ago at Essen, so I had already mentally tagged it at that time, but I missed it somehow. So this is a game in which you're traveling around the world, visiting cultural landmarks, and it seems to be a very family-friendly, gateway-ish kind of game in which there are different arrows or connections between cities and countries, and you're trying to gather like the train symbols or the airplane symbols or whatever symbols to be able to make your journey to a destination so you can pick up that destination and score points. It seems like something that will be easy to get to the table with new gamers or just people that are into globe trotting like I am. Next up, we have Mini City by Good Game Studio. This is another game that was not advertised to be at Essen Spiel, because this is a game that the wife of the designer decided to bring along, and so it was very few copies and it had sold out when I saw this on day 2 or day 3. This is a small box city building game by Sean Gare, who also designed Vegetable Stock, which is another small game but with a lot of game in it. At least a very simple, fun game, I find. And this is a game, well, as you can see here, only 11 subscribers. Not a lot of people know about this game, and in fact there aren't any pictures here on this website, so I have found this other website that shows a bit more. But it seems to have, well, first of all, I quite enjoyed the artwork. It seems to be sort of building out the city, and you score for placing them in certain ways. And that's about all I know of the game, but I like the look of the game, I like the presumed simplicity of the game, and I like the track record of the designer. So this is definitely a game that I'm going to be looking out for, and it is a game that you can look out for as well, because the designer confirmed to me that it has been picked up by another bigger publisher, so it will hopefully be in print next year. Next up, we have Carry Me Please, a pig hinders the hero party, which is maybe the strangest name I've ever heard for a board game, so that makes me immediately interested. This is a game that was on the Essen preview list, but it was added with like 2 days to go before the fair started. So I didn't get a chance to look into this, and I unfortunately never got a chance to play it at the fair either. So my knowledge of this is limited, but I did want to draw some attention to it because it seems like an interesting, unique game with a fun theme of you being a band of heroes and a pig trying to like go on adventures and gain loot or something. So I think the idea here is that you have the same deck of cards, you shuffle it, and then you drop, I think, maybe 3 cards, and you pick one of them to play, and there's these adventure cards out in the center of the table. Depending on whether you meet the threshold for like defeating that adventure, you get to loot, but you get it in order of the ranks of your cards. So you're incentivized to like contribute a lot, so to make sure that you win the adventure, but then I think maybe the one who contributed the least gets to loot first. So there's some shared incentives, but and fun dynamics and tension there. Seems simple, and also seems like all these cards have abilities that trigger in certain situations, so it's familiar and hopefully fun, but with a little twist on it. And yeah, I don't know, I'm just a sucker for this theme. Of course the anime artwork might be off-putting for some people, but I quite enjoy it, so this is one that I'm going to be looking into. Next up, we have Journey to the West 81 Perils by Wales Entertainment. This is a game that was on the preview list, but it hadn't received a lot of attention before the fair. As you can see here, there are only 13 subscribers. Not a lot of people know about this game. They also didn't seem to bring a lot of copies. This is one that I did see at the fair and I did buy it. And well, I sort of bought it because there were very few copies and because of the artwork. I wasn't sure how much to anticipate this game because there aren't any rules. As you can see here, this is me asking for more rules and more information, and there's no rule book on the Board Game Geek page. But I bought it, I read through the rules, and it seems like a simple game. The theme of the game, this Journey to the West, very popular theme, this Chinese myth legend story with the Wukong, the Monkey King, and I don't know too much more about it, but I just love this fantastical setting. I love it being a simple game. This is a sort of card shedding or card avoidance game where you're playing down cards. Let me find a picture here into like these different categories that represent, I guess, different symbols from the story. And if you ever can't follow what the last person did, then you have to pick up all the cards, and they are peril cards, and you're trying to avoid gathering those. So if you don't ever gather any of those, you're doing quite well. And these cards all have different special powers as well. So seems simple, looks beautiful. So this is just one that I'm very hopeful about. Finally, of the games that I haven't tried, we have Kavango. This was also on the preview list, but it was added like the day before the fair. And boy, am I glad that I saw this, because they had 90 copies of this. So this was the first place I ran without knowing they had so few copies. And this is a conservation nature reserve themed game in which you're drafting. So you have a bunch of cards with, I think, animals, conservation projects, stuff like that. Very Ark Nova-ish, but you're drafting the cards. There are a lot of different species, as you can see here. They do different things, have different icons, and you're just trying to build out your tableau of cards, gathering points, gathering the money you need to get those points. That's about what I know. As it says here, 160 unique species cards, and it just looks very good, has gotten very good reviews, and as you can see here, it has even gotten an 8 by Jamie Stegmaier, the designer of Viticulture and many other great games, the publisher of Wingspan, another animal themed game. So well, he's one that I'm listening to. He has great taste in games, as proven by his own publishing company. And yeah, I mean, this just looks quite incredible. So now we're getting into the games that I did try down at the fair and quite enjoyed. So first up, we have Bambam Boom by Bambam Kingdom. This is by an Indonesian publisher, and by the way, Bambam is like the son of the designer of the game. He was down there. So Bambam Boom is a sort of Exploding Kittens type of game, at least weight wise and also sort of gameplay wise, in that you're trying not to detonate it or have a bomb detonate on you. So you have these 3 bombs and they start at 0, and as you play cards of one of these 3 colors, you're often both adding a number to the bomb, making it closer to detonate, and you're also controlling how it moves around the table. So you might say, well, this bomb gets 3 more ticks on it and it moves 3 places, or it gets 2 more ticks and I can move it anywhere. And you also have action cards to like say, oh, I don't want the bomb here, take it back, or I'm gonna discard all my cards, draw new cards, and all sorts of stuff like that. These bombs are just flying around like hot potato, and you're trying not to have it explode on you, and if it lands on you with a 10, that's when it explodes, and you can play a card of the same color as the bomb to then make it move somewhere else. It's simple, good fun. I played this with my friend and 2 Germans our age, and we were just 4 adults having a ton of fun with this. And also you are able to play with like it plays up to 6. You can play with special powers, unique abilities, and you can also play with events, so that every time someone dies, a new rule is introduced into the game. Just from this explanation alone, you should know whether this is a game for you. If you do enjoy having a light take that-ish game in your collection, this is one to maybe consider. At least this is one that I've already tried with my students and they also enjoyed it. Sticking with the theme of simple games from Asia that surprised me quite a lot, this is I'm Stuck in the Lift by BGN, a Thai publisher. This is a game in which you all have these 3 cards in your hand. First of all, a 0, 5 and a 10. You have these floors that are laid out like in a line. They go from ground floor up to 40, the highest floor, unless you're playing with the promo, which makes it even higher. And you all simultaneously play one of your 3 aforementioned cards, a 0, 5, or 15, or 10, sorry, and you sum up all the numbers together, and that determines how far the lift moves up the building. But as you're playing this one number that determines or helps determine where the lift is ending, you're simultaneously trying to guess on these 2 other cards where the lift will end, and that's how you score points. So it's a game of very simple, sort of rock, paper, scissory kind of mind game of, do I know what they're going for, etc. And that might seem very simple and random, but the big twist here is that whenever you get your guess right, you can rewrite that card, but your other guess that you didn't get right, or potentially both your guesses that you didn't get right, you don't get to rewrite those. So if I'm guessing that this lift is going to end on like floor 20 or 25, and it doesn't, like it ends on 30 like here, I'm in a lot of trouble, and now I have to adapt my strategy to maybe play large numbers so it moves fast up and fast down to where I will score points. And it just creates this fun little simple game that I quite enjoyed. Unfortunately, it was sold out, so I'm gonna be looking to buy it somehow. The reason I didn't buy this day one was because I read the rules, and just from reading the rules alone, it did seem very random. It didn't seem like a game with choice in it. It didn't seem fun. I was proven wrong. So if you're thinking the same thing as I was when I read the rulebook, you might want to give this another chance. I love trick-taking games, so of course we also have a trick-taking game represented on the list. We have Stella Quest by Korea Board Games. This looks stunning. It is stunning. I bought it. I tried it. I don't regret buying it. It has this beautiful piece here, but more importantly, this is a game with, again, beautiful artwork here, in which you're trick-taking wise playing down these cards with numbers and colors, and whoever plays the best card wins the trick. And the overall 2 twists to this game is that first, you can't ever win a trick twice in a row. So if you win a trick, you're definitely trying to not win the next one, because if you do, you lose one of your 5 healths that you start the game with. But when you win a trick, you also get to collect a card, and that's what you're basically trying to do, trying to collect cards 1 to 6. But if you, let's say, have 1, 2, and 3 collected already, and you win a trick with only 1, 2s, or 3s in it, then you're collecting a duplicate number, and you may also, on that account, risk losing your life. So this is a push your luck kind of game in which you're trying to win some tricks, but oh, are you going to risk winning the next one as well? So do you maybe want to try to dump tricks, but then you're making the others closer to their goal? It seems like this very fun back and forth kind of dynamic to it. I only tried it with 3 players. I want to try it again, and I also want to try it at the full player count. But it has beautiful pieces and seems like a neat twist. And as you can also see here, you can also see the back sides of the other player's cards. So when I'm playing down a red, I know whether they can play the same color, because you have to play the same color if you can, unless you're deliberately playing one of these gray cards to not try to win the trick. I only had 1 short play of it, but it seems very promising. Alright, next up we have A.I.Pokalypse, an auto battle card game by Auli Moly Games, a German publisher. I think this is maybe the very first release. Indeed it is, and what a release it is. This is an apocalyptic auto battle card game in which you have these different factions of cards, like you have humans, you have mechs, you have aliens and stuff, and you're basically, think challengers. You're like getting cards and putting them down, and then they will engage in a fight afterwards that to a large degree works by itself. Like those fights are just fought automatically. You're not exerting too much influence over the fights themselves, but very much of the game is in preparing yourself for the fight. So in challengers, you're very simply just drafting the cards and shuffling them. Here you're doing more advanced stuff than this. As you can see, it has a weight of 3.4. So basically you're setting up a tableau. So you start a round with different cards in your hands, and some of them you have to basically like give up to like serve as slots that you can then place your other cards on. And these slots also, as you can see here, have numbers, which is the level of the fighter. So you can level up your fighters, which is a big effect in this game, a big synergy or combos that you're doing. It's like trying to level up your fighters to make them stronger. You also have these cards that earn you bonuses, like you can add to fights or whatever. And as you also move up these cards, you sometimes earn bonuses. So when you reach level 3, besides your character now being stronger, you also get a bonus. And you also have like these even more overpowered fighters that you can get into your battle line. If you like discard 3 of the same color and number, you get to super level them up into something. It's a bit complicated to explain, and as you can see, it has a weight of 3.4. It isn't actually that complicated once you learn the rules. I guess the complexity is more of trying to play well. These are German cards, as you can see, but it is in English. I bought and tried this down at fair. I very much enjoyed it. I do think it brings something new to this, I wouldn't say crowded, but this now becoming much more popular genre of auto battlers. Very fun, apocalyptic theme. Quite like the artwork, the feel of the game. I like the decision. Seems like there's a lot of variability and comboing this game. 200 plus playing cards, and I feel like I only explored a fraction of the game. So this was an insta buy for me down at the fair. This is one that I'm very much looking forward to playing more. Alright, we have reached the tail end of the list, and my number 1 game that I would recommend as a hidden gem is CARACAS by Peter Jostra and Kone van Morsel. Sorry that I probably butchered those names. And publisher Kvali, which also did Habitats, which was reprinted by Allplay. This is a nature-themed game in which you're placing down tiles and trying to score points for placing them in the most optimal way possible. And the main twist to this game, like the tagline says, choices affect choices, is that on your turn you have a tile here and you place it down somewhere in your display. And let's say I place it down here in this row here, this column here with the triangle. That means then that the next tile I must place, and the one that I must immediately draft and put here to replace, is the tile here underneath the triangle. So where I place it determines which other tile I get, and then have to place the next time. So I might be like, ooh, this tile would fit perfectly here, but oh no, then I get this shitty tile that I can't do anything with, that would ruin my whole strategy. Because what you're doing here is generally you have like 1, 2, 3, you have 5 common animals that score in different ways. Like you want to make pairs or groups, or you don't want them to be together, and I failed miserably at that, by the way. Or you also have the territories that score in certain ways, like you want maybe the largest territory, or you want to have large rivers with many crossings in it, etc., etc. And then you also have unique animals, special animals, rare animals that like here, this is one example, that there's only one of in the game, and that scores in its very own unique way. So you also have some of that variability from game to game, like, oh, now I'm trying to score this that I've never tried to score before. This was, I wouldn't say super brain burny, but at least somewhat brain burny and just very agonizing. This was a game in which I felt like every decision was super meaningful and super agonizing in just the best way possible. And this is just a game, I played this at the end of the first day, and I just couldn't stop thinking about it throughout the fair. And so finally I went by and bought it on the very last day, and I just quite enjoy this. I'm very much looking forward to introducing this to my gamer friends. I think they will like it as well. Hopefully you will as well if you decide to follow my recommendation here. But at least this is my number 1 hidden gem surprise from Essen Spiel 2024 that again has not received any buzz whatsoever. 58 subscribers. Shout out to Kone van Morsel, who actually commented on my last video, and that's the only reason that this even popped up on my radar. I hadn't noticed this game before he wrote on my YouTube video. So anyways, that's all for me. Those are 10 games, 5 of which I have tried, 5 of which that I haven't tried, but some of them I bought, that I think didn't receive any attention before or even now after the fair, and I think might be worth for you to check out. If you have any hidden gems that I should know about, definitely let me know. I hope you enjoyed the fair if you were down there, and if you weren't, I hope you've enjoyed the content that was created around it, and I hope you get to go sometime. And yeah, that's all from me. I'm Board Game Hobby. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I'll see you on the next one.